What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching the voice of college football. If you're an Auburn fan, please subscribe to our Auburn channel. If you're a fan of the SEC, please subscribe to our SEC channel. We're going to preview the 2022 schedule for Auburn here in this video. Before we get to 2022, let's look back at 2021. Here was the schedule from 2021. It was a tough schedule. It's always a tough schedule for Auburn because they always have to play Georgia out of the East. And then, of course, the SEC West Gauntlet. And this past season, they had to play Penn State as well. Despite that tough schedule, if you look back, they beat LSU on the road. They beat Arkansas on the road. They beat Ole Miss. It was all right there in front of them before a late season collapse when they lost their final four games of the season. And perhaps the toughness of that schedule just got to them. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but they did lose their final 4 games after starting off pretty strong. So let's look at 2022, and the schedule is very similar to 2021. Before we go game by game, let's look at who they play outside of the SEC West, because of course they're going to play every SEC West team. They'll play Mercer, San Jose State, Penn State, and Western Kentucky in the non-conference. Penn State going to be a tough game. They do get them at home this year, so that's some good news if you're an Auburn fan. Western Kentucky, pretty good group of 5 team, though. That is not a cupcake game there. So Mercer, San Jose State, games that Auburn should win. Penn State, very tough. Western Kentucky, don't overlook that game. And then you have Missouri and Georgia out of the East. So they have to play Georgia every year. They can't control that. They will play them on the road. That's brutal. But they do get Missouri. I think that's a pretty good draw out of the East. It's not Vanderbilt good, but they don't have to play Kentucky. And Kentucky, I think it's going to be pretty tough this year. So I like the Missouri draw there. You'd like to have Vanderbilt, but unfortunately, it will be Missouri for Auburn. So back to the schedule. They start with Mercer, and then they have San Jose State. Those are the first 2 games of the season. Then they'll play Penn State on September the 17th at home. Again, that's a huge non-conference game there. Missouri on September 24th. And look at that, LSU at home October 1st. Their first 5 games of the season are all at home. So you have a chance to get off to a good start once again if you can win these games at home. But LSU will be tough. Penn State will be tough. Missouri might be pretty tough as well. But again, good news, all 5 games at home. And that'll help them out at least at the start. But that means you're going to have some tough road games the rest of the way, and it starts right there in the middle of October with Georgia and Ole Miss, both of those games on the road. They do get Arkansas at home after a bye week, so after those 2 tough road games, they get to come home, get a bye week before playing Arkansas. Then they'll play Mississippi State after that on November the 5th. They'll play them on the road. They'll play Texas A&M at home. Then there's that Western Kentucky game before closing it out with Alabama. Not your typical FCS type game there late in the season. I'm telling you, Western Kentucky's not a team you want to sleep on. So that's a pretty tough finish. That from really the whole schedule is pretty tough. But when you start with LSU down to Alabama, I mean, there's no easy wins there. Even Western Kentucky might be a tough game. LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and then Alabama to close it out. You've got Alabama and Georgia on the road. Very tough schedule for Auburn in 2022, but they're used to it. Again, playing Georgia every year in their cross-division matchup, and then usually playing a pretty tough non-conference game as well. This year is no different, and once again, Auburn probably going to have one of the toughest schedules in 2022.